Here Comes the Guillotine contains offensive language, mature content and adult themes. What did you expect? It's Frankie Boyle. It's not suitable for all listeners.
This is a Global Player original podcast.
Hello and welcome to Here Comes the Guillotine. I'm Frankie Boyle and I'm going to be talking to Susie McCabe and Christopher MacArthur Boyd. The thing they came in to delete before we started was the most recent episode of Restless Natives.
Oh.
So presumably
So
they're
I know what's
fucking
happened
bad-mouthing us.
No.
They're like, this studio stinks.
It stinks of dissidence.
I think somebody's been eating croissants and cannolis in here.
No, apparently it was the BBC have went mental because Paddy McGuinness told a story about cum.
Right.
And that was the bit that they clipped up. That's a warning to you, you wee cum monster.
Please don't call me. What was Paddy McGuinness saying about cum?
Doesn't bear thinking about. That's the last thing I want to know, actually.
Let the cum see them out.
Listen, who are we to judge?
I did this job once, writing on a show, and they would never use any of our stuff. So we were just parked in a room somewhere. But they had us, so it was a really mainstream show. And they would just ask for more and more jokes about a guest. So you'd end up writing like 100, 200 jokes sometimes about a guest, and they would just never use any of them. In fact, sometimes they wouldn't even tell a joke. Anyway, it was this BBC One thing. And Paddy McGuinness was on, and they give you all these facts. I know thousands of things about Paddy McGuinness. I wrote about him for like 3 days.
Hit me.
And one of them was that he's a black belt in karate. And the line we sent them was, Paddy McGuinness is a black belt in karate, a fact that has seen a 1-inch steel plate fitted to the door of Bolton's women's refuge.
I can't believe they never used it.
Was this a joke for Paddy or for somebody?
No, for the host to introduce him.
All right, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that was after 3 days of stuff they could have used.
Yeah. This was a kind of protest.
Eventually you give up.
Yeah.
I can't really do observation stuff. I was thinking that this week because I went in for a couple of swims since we were last in here, and there's like a ladder on your way into the changing rooms, and I was like, when are they going to fix that ceiling in this place? That's been months, this fucking ladder been there. And then the other day I realised it's where the lifeguard sits.
Wait, what did you think it was?
I thought they were fixing the ceiling. I thought, get on with this, guys.
Did you not notice there was a seat at the top of it? Do you think they're like exhausted by the time they climb up the ladder? They're like, I am shattered. Before I fix this ceiling, I'm going to have a wee
it was
seat.
a particularly sturdy ladder. You'd think.
With legs?
Like 4 legs and then an umpire's chair at the top of it.
It could be like one of those things that Michelangelo used for the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, where he kind of lay back on a system of ladders, didn't he?
Do you know that Michelangelo, they made him paint the Sistine Chapel because they thought he'd mess it up?
What?
Yeah. It was his haters. It was his haters, the other big Italian painters at the time, because he was largely a sculptor.
Oh.
They went, yeah, get him the commission for the Sistine Chapel.
This is why comedians are delighted you've got a podcast. They're like, this'll finish him off. 20 years at the top of his game, this is him done.
Do you find it easy to do observational stuff? I find
Yeah.
I put one joke in every show deliberately that's like, so what was the last, like there was the last one about that mint shower gel you get, and like not knowing about that and going, I thought my arsehole was going to burst into song.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And I always put one in to go, look, I could do that if I wanted to do that.
Yeah.
But I don't actually think I could. I don't think I'm very good at noticing stuff.
I'm very observational, isn't it? That's really, we've spent a lot of time gigging together, Christopher, and I would say that's and then what I tend to do is to have the observation written, and then I go back and try and like punch it up. Do you know what I mean? So I don't write a joke per se, I'll write about something. I had a bit in hen nights about going on a hen night, and the whole story was about going on my mate from nursery's hen night, and it was everything like the jealousy between me and the new best friend, and how women behave in older women and younger women, and then like the bus and what like the bus driver looked like and the type of music and just the general behaviour. So it was like a 10-15 minute bit, and then went back and absolutely punched it up. Do you know what I mean? But you need to be able to do both. You know, like Conley could do 4 or 5 minutes before he got a real laugh, because he would just paint this picture, but people would sit and listen. Whereas now, I don't think you get that. I don't think you get that grace to sit and listen.
Yeah, people would listen because he's Billy Connolly. So
Aye.
they go, aye, there must be something at the end of this. Whereas, with other people, you're like, I'm not sure.
No, I'm not entirely sure, but I think you do need to punch up. Even if you look at somebody like McIntyre, who, will do observational stuff. I mean, it's pretty, like, every line's a punch. Every line's like a gag. Even
They talk about that, don't they? Short form and long form in comedy, but really, it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
You just write it from the opposite end.
Mm-hmm.
So you either write a big story and punch it up, or you write a lot of short stuff and you kind of
build a story around it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I've got a particular bit now that I'm trying to talk about a particular brand of supermarket, and I'm going, it's like 4 lines and it's 4 really good jokes, but I know I need to go back and then do the observational stuff, which is I find that much weaker than just writing a bit and then going, right, I'm going to punch it up and going, that's a funny story, but and then go punch. Whereas this bit, I'm like, I've got 4 punchlines going, I kind of need to build a story around that. Do you know what I mean? I find that harder.
All the best stuff is rewrites. It's like you're your own guardian angel. Go back and hit, oh, look out for that, don't walk into that.
I find observational quite difficult to write because I don't
Pay enough attention to the world.
Can't see.
I can't see. I've got astigmatism, but just I don't really feel like most people feel the way I do about being alive. So the idea, I don't really, most people aren't like me, I would say, and that I'm a wee freak. Don't know if you feel the same.
Utterly the same. There's often a thing where people go, that was a bit much, and you're like, well, that's just a normal thing that occurred to me.
That's just the way it is.
That's just the way it is, motherfucker.
I put a clip up online and it was about half pints. Just a daft joke about half pints. And the amount of people who were like, this clearly didn't happen. Well, no, of course it didn't, because it's a joke, right? Or going, actually, I think you'll find that when I was in Scotland, I ordered a half pint and it was absolutely no bother at all. And you're letting in people going, this is not relatable. This is not relatable content. You should joke about something that's true. And I'm like, you're trying to hold a comedian to task over truth based on a 90-second clip over a half pint, but you're absolutely fine with your government lying to you. You're absolutely fine with it.
Who wants to hear truth? Truth is pretty harrowing. when you
Truth's
get down to
terrible.
it.
It's boring.
The facts of life and death. Hide it from me. Please.
Use subterfuge, I beg of you.
I hate truth. Truth's terrible. It's like when somebody ends the relationship with you, you're like, oh, I'm going to just do this by text message. Don't show me respect by doing it to my face. Just,
Also, absolutely lie to me.
yeah.
We both know why you're leaving. Please try and put a
And we know it's me.
in this.
We know it's me. We know it's not you. We know it's me. But don't. Truth's terrible.
I was, for some reason, fell down a rabbit hole yesterday about the immortal soul. And growing up as a Catholic, you're like, you've got to look after your immortal soul.
Because
It's
you're
like-
born with original sin.
Well, here's the thing, right? It turns out it's a lot muddier than we were taught, right? Because, the idea of the immortal soul isn't really in the Bible, except in one place, right? So we get told as Catholics, you got to look after your precious immortal soul, blah, blah, blah. And the only person that actually makes a case for immortality is Satan. Satan in the Garden of Eden says to Eve, eat this and you'll know everything and you'll never die and all that stuff. And
Was that Satan? I thought that was a snake.
That snake was Satan. Did you not know that?
It's like
I
a
had no
Horcrux.
idea. I just thought that was like a snake.
You thought it was a random snake?
Yeah. Just a normal snake. I had no idea it was.
Satan loves people like you, man.
He preys on people like you.
Yeah.
Well, what the Bible message is, we're going to be resurrected. So you do die, but then on Judgment Day, Jesus comes back and resurrects us all, and then we're judged. You know,
Is it a
that's
public judging?
No.
like X Factor.
Do.
But then
Like, take me out.
also that kind of maybe plays into like simulation theory, where at the end of the programme, they just run a little assessment module and go, well, who worked or no, he sinned or whatever they're trying to find.
It's like a high score at the end of Resident Evil,
Exactly.
you know.
Also, though, before this, you still need to get past St. Peter at the gate. So he judges you.
No, you don't, because like that's all just frippery we invented. So there's no thing if you go to heaven. Like
There's no
the
gates?
eternal life that you're promised, and my Father has many mansions and all that stuff. That's all after death and resurrection. So like loads of American religion, like American Christianity, comes from like tent revivalism. So these people went round in tents preaching, and like they were grifters on some level. But part of their thing was, you'll get a new body, you'll get a new life. Not Hank Williams song, you get a new body. You'll rise out of the grave.
That's a very
heavenly.
funky take on Hank Williams. Get a new body. Kind of R&B Hank Williams.
The horn of the angel sounds. You rise from your grave, and your body is restored, and then you're judged. Why didn't we get more of that? Because in a way, it's kind of cooler.
It's a lot
There's
cooler.
a lot more going on.
I'm not fussed for eternal life, to be honest. Not fussed for it. It's like, no.
I found this one too long.
It's just very tiring.
There's a
It's just
great
exhausting.
Van der Graaf Generator song about eternal life called Still Life. It was a kind of 8-minute prog odyssey about how boring it would be to live forever.
That is the plot of the follow-up to 101 Dalmatians, which I think is called 102 Dalmatians.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
And the dog star Sirius, which is the god of dogs, comes down to Earth, freezes all the people. It's a real departure from the first book.
Not a lot of god dogs in the first one. It was just Cruella de Vil and
Yeah.
a kind of charming couple.
But this really steps it up. And dog god comes down and freezes humanity and says, look, all you dogs can come to live in eternal bliss in dog heaven. And all the dogs see the dog god as their breed of dog.
Oh,
It was a nice touch.
it's kind of like
And then some
us.
little like Shih Tzu or Bichon Frise or something goes, aye, but if you had bliss forever, that would be unbearable. And the dogs agree, and they decide to live out their lives as dogs.
mortal lives.
Yeah.
Be alright.
What side would you take, the Bichon Frise or the Irish Greyhound who wants to live forever?
I'd be like a third figure going, kill me now.
What dog breed do you think's the most suicidal?
Greyhounds are traumatised, aren't they? It's
Aye.
pretty sad.
Aye.
From a life of racing.
It's sad anytime they hear a shop shutters go up or, there's I've got a race. It's
I
a bit
want a greyhound.
It's a bit like as a comedian when you hear like anything that gets used as the play-on music in a club, like Let Me Entertain You or Reed Petite or something.
Yeah.
That's true. It's Pavlov's dogs, wasn't it?
Yeah. I want a greyhound, but my partner says that they are too shaky.
They're very lazy dogs.
Well, that's what appeals to me about them.
Very lazy. Like, that's your kind of ideal dog, especially like if you're older as well, because you don't need to walk them as much. They don't need big, massive, long walks. They're just like, listen, I'm on the sofa. Let me out to do my business. A nice wee walk, a wee 20 minutes, and I'll be back in.
Ideal.
But then they see a squirrel. That's it.
They're
Chaos.
off.
Also, they need a home. There's loads of greyhounds need rehomed,
Yeah.
whereas like the world doesn't need more cockapoos being bred or whatever.
It's true. And cockapoos, they're lovely dogs, but they're not the brightest.
They're really dense.
They're not the
How
brightest.
can they be stupider than proper inbred ones? Is it because they're already descended from two separate inbred species?
exactly.
So they get double inbred?
They don't get double inbred, but there's a lot of you know, they haven't been bred for smarts.
They've not been like a collie has obviously been bred to
A
be
working
a
dog.
sheepdog, a working dog, an Alsatian can be bred. Then you've just got dogs that are just like, oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm very uncomfortable with the eugenicism inherent in dog life. Do you know what I mean? Because one of the issues with the Nazis was that they were trying to eliminate. They were using eugenicism to try and eliminate inferior, as their terminology, not mine. Inferior types of people, but that's what dog breeders do.
But then, isn't that what we all try and do sexually? We try and look for the partner with the best genes, and really, unless you're fucking the ugliest people you can find, you're essentially Hitler.
Well, consider me not Hitler. No offence to anybody I've ever slept with, but you know, it's not what I look for. I'm not looking for.
That's what you think, but
Yeah.
actually, how do you know? Your subconscious is searching for the best genes.
Is that not a male thing though?
No.
No, women are like,
No.
yeah, I want this guy to be able to bring up kids,
To protect.
to provide, to not be crazy.
But then men are looking at women going, I want her to have, you know, childbearing hips because she's going to, you know, give me my heir.
I was thinking about that because I have.
Childbearing hips.
I think the way some men would look at a woman's hips and go, oh, they're childbearing, I think a lot of women would look at my shape of head and go, no chance. There's no way I'm going to give birth to a wee version of that because that will destroy me from the inside out like a landmine.
Praying for a foot first birth.
Yeah. Just to delay the inevitable. It's a real awful.
Oh, dear Lord.
You've got cesarean written all over.
Sunroof. Sunroof.
A sunroof? Is that what it's called?
That's what it's called out the
A wee
sunroof.
C-section.
Either way, it's not pleasant, is it?
No, because I was thinking about that, the way that in Germany they've bred dogs to look like sausages, you know, dash hunts.
My friend, nobody knows more about the history of the dash hunt than me. You're in for a treat.
Yeah. Well, my issue, lay it on me.
They've bred those dogs not so that they look like sausages. They've bred them to hunt badgers.
Badger hunting
Ein
dogs.
Dachs is a badger, and a dachshund is a dog that hunts badgers.
Badger hound.
Badger
Badger
hounds.
hound. So what we're looking at when we talk about dachshund is a miniature
Yeah.
version of the badger dog.
It's like the advert
Actually, yeah.
for that.
Your actual dachshund would be a ferocious badger hunting beast.
Yeah, because badgers are formidable foes.
Very formidable. And they like to lie down and pretend you've got the better of them so they can claw at you with their back legs.
So it's a kind of active submission that becomes a more. We'll do that in UFC as well. A lot of people will retreat to their back just so as they can get a bit more grapple on the mat.
Essentially, UFC fighters are human badgers.
Imagine you met a guy who had, obviously your point kind of upsets mine, but imagine you met a human who had been breeding humans to look like sausages. They would be jailed.
Depends, like to fight a badger. Like if he had a purpose, if he said, look, you... yeah, I think you're right though.
Sending these long thin men into sets to fight badgers.
A long, thin man's not winning a fight with a badger. Badgers are big.
Yeah.
Aye,
Do
but
you know what I mean?
I suppose maybe a rabbit.
You want to hit it with your car first and then finish it off or something.
Do damage. It'll do damage to your car.
You seen a strange animal on tour? Did you not?
Well, I'm pretty convinced I saw a tiny elephant.
In the
it was-
Midlands.
It was late at night. I'm not the only person who saw this, by the way. It was late at night. We were driving to a country hotel in the Midlands after a show. And I saw something that looked, from behind, like a tiny elephant. And I said to the tour manager, Barbara, I mean, do you see that? And she's like, yeah, what the fuck is that? And I was like, it looks like a tiny elephant.
Yeah.
And we looked...
I was in the back seat.
And we looked up online to try and see what kind of...
Tiny elephants Britain has.
What it could have been, but yeah, it must... I don't know. My only guess is there's some tribe of tiny people there who...
Need a tiny elephant?
They have a shaved mammoth.
Yeah, but actually I think we're trying to stay there again so that we can look for these...
That was nice last time. Other than the elephant, which I didn't see.
I mean, it was there.
Well, I'm not saying it was or it wasn't there. I'm just saying I didn't see it. I'm very careful the way I speak about this topic with you, because I don't want to upset you. I don't want to upset Barbara. But for me personally, I didn't see it.
I'm completely fine with people's disbelief. I know what I saw. Mm-hmm. You know, it would be a really disappointing episode of the X-Files, I think, where they just see a tiny elephant and then nobody ever sees it again. But it happened.
I don't know if you can breed elephants to be tiny.
Why not? You can do it to dogs to make them look like sausages. Badger hunting sausage dogs.
It's taken like thousands of years.
Yeah.
I mean, tiny elephants in the Midlands.
We don't know how long they've been working on this.
Yeah. Could be
King Arthur.
pre-dog.
Yeah.
Merlin times. Could be the times of Merlin.
As a kid, you know, the story of Merlin, I really loved it. But you know, the full story of Merlin is that he's kind of seduced by Morgan Le Fay. Morgan Le Fay is like a witch,
sexy witch,
another kind of wizard, really, who learns under Merlin. The most famous version of the story is that Merlin teaches her everything she knows, and she then imprisons him in a tree, or sometimes a rock, and he's just doomed there forever. And like the you know, as a kid, you're like, what the hell's going on there? Why would Merlin let any of this happen? And now, as a middle-aged man, you're like, yeah, I know what Merlin was up to there, and he, you know, who wouldn't happily be put in a tree
by a sexy witch?
It's very unlikely we'll talk about this.
I think you just need to go and spend a weekend with a dominatrix and get it out your system. Just go and
I
get
would hate
laid
to be dominated.
Yeah.
Or to dominate. I don't.
Oh my God.
I don't want any relationship to domination.
Let's just all be equals. I don't like sadism, and I don't like being submissive or other people having to be submissive. The whole thing just seems like, whoa.
Leave it at the door.
I mean, isn't sex weird enough without starting to get props? And
I watched a thing last night on TV, and it was the weirdest thing, where a guy was just basically a prowler, and there was an accusation of rape put against him, right, and which was quite heavy. And he basically they went through his phone as they were trying to gather evidence, and he just had all these videos of drunk women pissing up lanes, and then going up and talking to them and saying, I'll give you £100 and a smoke of a joint. And I was like,
for what? To be peed on?
Not to just like watch and film it.
Wow.
It was very peculiar, but this guy would basically just walk about the streets late at night at the weekend and look out for kind of drunk women going up alleyways for a pee. And I was like, that's weird, man. That's what he was getting off on.
Do you wonder if they ever go and look for where that came from? Oh yeah, my auntie pished.
Peed in a beach once.
I one day peed in the sea.
Or something set that off.
Yeah. What is that? It's weird. He got done for like 12 years. But
12 years?
Yeah, he got done for 12 years because it was found out they had orally raped a woman. So
orally?
Well, yeah.
Well, this is the clip for the show.
With
his tongue?
No, he.
Oh, right. I thought he was going around giving non-consensual lickouts.
1:45 on a Monday in the year of our Lord 2023.
I think this is a very different show from Restless Natives.
Restful natives.
Restless voyeurs. Aye. Where does that come from? Like, that's a very peculiar bit of the old sex thing. What's turning them on?
Yeah. I struggle with the word prowler because it reminds me of the Spider-Man villain, the Prowler, who has big purple claws. So I can't get that out of my head. My whole time you'd be talking about him pissing up, watching people pissing up alleys. I just see
Tom.
The Prowler.
He'd like videos on his phone of like people having sex in doorways and stuff like that, or people getting changed in their room and stuff. He was just like a peeping Tom, but with mobile phone technology.
So they're all actually technical terms in the pervert community, which I know from reading James Elroy, his autobiography. But a prowler is like a peeping Tom, what we think of someone looking in windows and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
A hot pad prowler.
Oh,
wait, what?
A hot pad prowler is someone who breaks into a house while people are in it. That's what turns them on. They're creeping around the house while you're in. And what he self-identifies himself at the time as a hot pad panty prowler. So they're people who would take souvenirs. And I think the chapter's called Hot Pad Panty Prowler.
I'm enjoying this new vocabulary that I'm being exposed to. I love to learn new phrases that will hopefully not come up a lot in my life.
Darling, it looks like we've been the victim of a hot pad panty prowler.
If you say that, you're kind of giving the game away that it was you.
But see
when
that,
you know the exact.
he's getting off and being there.
Panty prowlers come in here.
So he's getting off and being there,
Yeah,
right?
well, someone's there.
But your man, who was secretly filming these women, was getting off and watching it and then filming it after talking to them and filming the conversation with them, and they didn't know they were being filmed. And then, so I'm a bit like, surely with that very same mobile phone, you can access anything that you want to watch. Anything. And he's like, yeah, but I'd rather go out and pribble the streets, which is
My guess is he feels that he has degraded them in some way.
so then it's the power thing. Yeah. Sex is weird, man. Sex is weird, isn't it?
I was thinking today, so like one time, I think I said this in a documentary somewhere, but one time I was getting the train down to get the ferry over to Ireland, and it's a really rainy day, and we're going past all these fields with sheep in them, and this old guy sitting beside me says nothing for the whole journey. He's just looking out the window, and I turned around and went, "Fuck being a sheep." Right? And then today, there was like a woman across from me in the tube, and this guy was talking to her in a really hassless way.
Hassless?
You know, he's been a bit much.
He's hassling her?
He's hassling.
Right, okay. Hassleless.
He's
Okay.
being hassless. And I kind of tune in enough that you're like, am I going to have to say something to this guy? But he's actually just talking about how the subway works, and he's just mansplaining really aggressively. But part of me did think, fuck being a woman. You know,
In the
easy.
manner of a sheep.
I was on a train from Leicester to London, and there was a guy who had FaceTime on his phone. It was like 9 o'clock till 10 o'clock. The train was due to get into London at 10. And there wasn't many people in the carriage, and there was a guy on the carriage with FaceTime up, and this woman who I presume he was in a relationship with was breaking her heart, right? Like proper sobbing. He'd hurt her physically, he'd obviously abused her, like all this kind of stuff, and she had no idea that the whole carriage could hear, because he had earphones in, but we could hear everything, right? So it's almost like a power play by him. And this went on for about 10 minutes, and me and this guy just looked at each other, and eventually I just walked over, like me and this other guy, walked down like 3 seats, and I just took the phone off the guy, and I was like, listen, everybody in this carriage can hear this conversation. Stop it. Get off the phone to him. Don't FaceTime him. You're clearly upset. Whatever's happened. But don't give him the power to do this to you. And I was like, I hope you're going to be okay. Get him out your life, and just give him the phone back. And she hung up, and I just sat in my seat, and it was like, for the rest of the journey, just sat with his arms folded, like, didn't look me in the eye, and I was like, "You're a horrible little bastard."
So
Do you know?
maybe his power play on the carriage as well.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
gonna-
And this other guy was like, "I'm so glad you done that," because I think it was that thing as well. If a woman does it, he's not going to challenge, but if a guy does it, there'll be a fight.
Sounds like a psychosexual deviant.
Probably a hot pad prowler.
Probably a hotbed prowler in his spare time.
But just a very odd power play from just an absolute little dick.
I find it is a power thing, isn't it? So a lot of that stuff. Me and my daughter, we were going through Edinburgh during the festival, and I was doing a gig, so I'm a bit stressed. And she was working the festival, and this guy sits across from us in the train. He's going, "Yeah, I'll tell you a joke. See what you think it is." It tells a really horrible, borderline kind of racist joke. And he's going, "Oh, you're not laughing." And I'm just like, "Find someone else to bother, you fucking prick." Right? And he's like, "Oh," like that. But he got up and he just went and bothered someone else. He just took my advice. He just got up and he went, "Oh, okay." I just went and told the same borderline racist joke to another couple and hassled them all the way to Edinburgh.
Yeah.
And for an hour.
It really is the downside of a beautiful train network is that you're stuck with the people that you're on the train with. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can go to a different carriage. That's why it's better than the bus. Because there's no escape on the bus. The bus.
But I think on the bus, people can't see you.
Everybody's facing the same way.
Yeah. Depends how recognisable you are. But
Sure.
the bus has certain advantages.
Doesn't lend itself to a face-to-face chat.
I also find if people are thinking about sitting beside you and you scratch, that's a cough
scratch?
these days.
Yeah.
Sort of-
If you exhibit the signs of withdrawal.
I think we've got something where we're looking for communicable diseases.
I just smile at people and that tends to put them off.
Oh,
I go,
and they go, "He's
you know,
far too
not in like a
friendly."
pure, I'm a big smiler.
That's
Just
the guy with the phrase non-consensual lick out at the front of his mind. That's what that smile says.
I was on a flight to London, and I always find this on certain operated flights to London, operated by a certain company, and it was a very Brexity flight, and this fucking old gammon sits next to me, and he totally manspreads. Do you know what I mean? Just totally, and he doesn't take his jacket off, he's fucking hanging over me, and I just kind of gently went, "Could you pass me the sick bag? It's just I normally need two." And that was him, like, fucking shrunk. He shrunk to he was a good foot less and a foot less wide, and I was like, "Yeah, you're a dick." Just, yeah. There is a lot of that, though. There is an awful lot of that.
It's a good subtle way of doing it, though. You can't just shout, "I'm going to be sick," because then you know that you aren't. But you're like, "Oh, I do this so often that I don't even care." Do you know what I mean?
I'm just not a very good traveller. And they just kind of go, "Oh," and you're like, "Yeah."
I get travel sickness if people are on top of me.
Brexity gammon. Oh, he was horrible.
Yeah, you get a lot of people who fly all the time and they would read their big, massive newspapers and stuff, and you're like, "Now's the time to read a big, massive newspaper." You couldn't,
Just put on a pair of headphones and go for a sleep.
yeah.
What is it with people not using headphones?
What is that?
I don't know, that is all a power thing. I think it is just for some people, other folk aren't real.
They're in a simulation.
Yeah.
I was reading a lot about that. There's a kind of big movement in like spiritual circles of like other people being like background characters or NPCs or non-player characters, and it's the idea that most people aren't real. They're just a supporting character in your story, which is one of the least spiritual things you can think of. You know, we're all people. Everybody who's a person is a person, but for a lot of people that's not true.
Well, that was a kind of school of philosophy, wasn't it? Solipsism, which was the idea that only you were real and everything else was a projection from your consciousness.
Who came up with that?
I guess just one guy.
One guy.
A hologram wouldn't say that.
One guy that had a really good trip in the desert and was like, "Yeah, This is how it is. I think people do. I don't know if they necessarily think that, but they are so self-involved. They're like, nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. My views matter. My opinions matter. Everything that I'm saying is what's really important. So I'm going to take to Instagram and tell people like exactly how it is. And you're like, oh, fuck off.
It's individualism, isn't it?
Yeah. And politics kind of encourages that, because our whole politics just views everybody as a kind of NPC. And they're just like, yeah, you have to vote for this, whatever happens. Like Labour now, just like, well, what else are you going to do?
What else are you going to do, kid?
Yeah, it's exactly that. And do you know what? I think that came from... I mean, obviously I'm going to blame her, but I think that comes from Thatcherism. Do you know what I mean? In the determination of the individual as opposed to conservatism. I think it comes from her. And it's just, and we're now that on steroids. And there's got to be a bit where society looks after each other, but they just fucking don't. People don't care enough. And it's like you're saying there, the Labour Party are like, well, I mean...
It's actually shifted now. It's we are arseholes, and we're going to be better at being an arsehole than they are.
Yeah.
It's like, don't.
That's such a great point, honestly. Yeah, we're arseholes too, but you know what? We are what we are, and if you don't like it, what are you going to do?
I hate it when they say heartlands. Oh, heartlands, Labour heartlands. And all that means is the place we take everybody's vote for granted.
And have done for a century.
Yeah.
I also think it's that thing in British politics where they go, oh, you know, it's government by consent, it's cabinet government, and you go, it's not. It's only cabinet government when you're blaming. Like Boris Johnson during the COVID inquiry was like, yeah, the government made some wrong decisions. You fucking appointed that government. Like, I don't know if you realise this, but you were in charge of that government. It was like, oh, the government. Matt Hancock, yeah, the government made some terrible decisions. You were the fucking health secretary who gave them the information to make those fucking decisions. It's the whole thing as well that people consider Nigel Farage and Boris Johnson politicians. They're not. They're fucking media personalities. That's it. They're not politicians.
Choosing to who's Prime Minister by whether they were a good host on Have I Got News For You seems to be a really bad system.
How much you like their dad in the jungle. Do you know what I mean? Can I just ask if you've stolen my water?
Yeah, I had a sip of it by accident, and I have a cold sore, so I've stolen it from you to save you from herpes.
What a guy.
A lot of people say I'm an arsehole, but I'm actually trying to stop the spread of herpes. Do you want another water?
Nah, you're fine. I'm alright. As you were going to say.
It's upsetting to see so many kind of murderers and fascists in the jungle, and the kind of
it's upsetting to see them in the cabinet.
What?
It's upsetting to see them in the cabinet of the country.
I'm upset to see them in the jungle and they're not being like chased by manhunters, or they're not, developing jungle scurvy. They're not dying, they're not burning on a campfire. They're not in a big cauldron that people are chopping up carrots and putting into.
They're not in that place where that Christian missionary went
and got full of spears straight away. He went, "We love you. We bring the word of God," and then he looked like a pincushion.
He also brought a whole bunch of diseases that they had never been exposed to. It's
Yeah.
really dangerous for people to go to those
like Christianity. It's the main disease.
Main problem there.
What diseases did they get?
Well, it's just really bad in general to go to people who've had no contact with the outside world, because we've got immunity to a whole bunch of stuff that they don't.
Yeah.
Grim.
And what, are you going to make these people's lives better by introducing the concept of original sin and all the stuff you were talking about? Snakes,
Devils.
devils.
You know about snakes?
They already know about snakes, sure. I was reading about this tribe. Where do orangutans live?
Borneo.
Borneo, of course they live in Borneo. I was reading about this tribe in Borneo who haven't had a lot of interaction with the outside world, and they believe that the orangutans are just a different tribe of guys. It's just a different type of guy. They've never met other humans, so they just know these kind of quiet ginger guys who live in the trees. I think orangutan means tree people in Borneo.
Wait till they find out about Bible John.
Wait till the tree people of Borneo find out about Bible John. They are going to flip their lid.
Going to lose their shit.
He was reading what?
Aye, famous ginger.
Yeah. He's like,
Do you reckon that's where he's hiding out?
Aye, I think that's what it was.
I reckon they think that because certain ginger criminals have gone on the lam in the trees of Borneo.
or was Bible John an orangutan?
Well,
Trained?
Oh, very well trained. I mean, he paid for a taxi.
Quoted the Bible.
Could you have installed some kind of
you know
recorder speaker system in the orangutan's neck to make it seem like he was speaking? Actually, people were just reading.
Could it be a ventriloquist orangutan trainer who hates
Women.
menstruation? Yeah.
It's menstruating women.
Which is most of them.
Listen, the menstruation
orangutan
thing
trainers.
was just a coincidence.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Aye. Well, how are you finding out about that?
Autopsies.
No, how's he finding out about it?
All right, okay.
Jesus, you very much skipped to the end game there.
Maybe he could just sense it the way bears can.
Because he's an orangutan.
Because he's an orangutan, because he's a...
Killed 3 women and ate 6 picnic baskets.
That park ranger, what was his name, Dibble? Or was Dibble the policeman in Top Cat who was very similar to the
Officer
park ranger?
Dibble?
Officer Dibble.
Officer Dibble
Who was the name of the park ranger?
and Yogi Bear,
Yeah.
who you've not yet mentioned.
I mean, I've alluded to. Oh my god. Was Yogi Bear Bible John?
No.
How could he detect the
Was a famous
menstruation?
baseball player? Because loads of them are based on like people that we'd never heard of but were super famous in America. So there's this guy Yogi Barbera who was like a super famous baseball player who said all this stuff.
You're confusing Yogi Berra with Hanna-Barbera, who made the cartoons.
Alright, Yogi Berra.
Yeah.
And it's Hanna-Barbera, the cartoon. I mean, it all meshes together. You can see why Bible John was attracted to
Yogi
it.
Berra, Hanna-Barbera, Bible John.
Who was your favourite Hanna-Barbera character?
The wee purple guy in Top Cat who had a white jacket. He was good. That's right, TC. That's right, TC. You get him.
But that was Bilko. So Top Cat was Sergeant Bilko.
Sergeant Bilko for the... Oh, yeah. But then I think it's so beautiful that Yogi Bear is now more famous than Yogi Berra. Nobody knows who Yogi Berra is. I would say more people know about Top Cat than they do about Sergeant Bilko, despite the Steve Martin live-action remake.
No, Sergeant Bilko. No, that was a really big programme back in the day.
Should we take it to Google, see who gets more
favourite
hits?
thing was, remember that pink kind of lion or something that would always go, exit, stage left even.
Hey! What was his name again? It wasn't the Pink
called-
Panther.
He was called Snagglepuss. Yeah, Snagglepuss.
Snagglepuss. They really give him that name to make use of his speech impediment, didn't
But
they?
he sounds a bit like Lenny Bruce when you listen to the Lenny Bruce album. They're like, yeah, exit.
That's right. I've been arrested for saying certain words.
Is that not Sylvester? That's Sylvester. I
Wonder
thought I
if
How
can't.
many of those people are in here tonight?
That's Sylvester.
No, Sylvester's Tweety Pie.
Aye, but
Snagglepuss is a different guy who's like he kind of has a wee straw boater on. And he's sort of vaguely theatrical.
He's
Just
a
a really weird
homosexual
guy.
panther.
I don't know.
Do
what
you
they were
think
aiming
Sylvester
for.
was a kind of own brand take on Snagglepuss?
I'm going to look it up, Snagglepuss.
He was a let's chase a thing kind of guy.
Let's
he was
chase a
he was
thing.
an own brand Tom and Jerry is what he was.
Do you think?
Yeah.
That's what I like about Tom and Jerry, and I think it's kind of one of the secrets to their success was the fact that they didn't do voices, you know. There was obviously that time where Tom did blackface when he was in the rubble of that house that had exploded, and he said he pretended to be a slave, which a lot of people aren't bringing up these days.
You want to cancel Tom from Jerry?
Really?
Fucking
I didn't say I want to
virus, my
cancel.
friend.
The woke mind virus has offended me, obviously. Nobody's talking about how Tom did blackface. Not that I want to bring it up.
There was also the kind of racist with the cleaner in Tom and Jerry, wasn't there? The kind of, you only ever seen the bottom half of
They
the
stopped
cleaner.
doing the kind of Aunt Jemima type cleaner.
They replaced it. They went back and they edited it to take Aunt Jemima out as the cleaner in Tom and Jerry's, and they put in a thin white cleaner character. They went back and edited it. But is that not a form of whitewashing?
Also, see if I had a cleaner and still had mice in my house, I would be fuming.
I think that was part of this plot. I think it was inappropriate that Jerry was there, and that was the kind of tension. Do you know what I mean?
I like Tom and Jerry.
I'm a big Tom and Jerry fan, man.
Also a big Bugs Bunny fan. Like a Bugs Bunny. Like a wee I like a wee Yosemite Sam.
Bugs Bunny was Groucho Marx
Really?
with the carrot.
Is that supposed to be a cigar?
Yeah, and Daffy Duck is Bob Hope.
Right.
My favourite thing in cartoons was always like Daffy Duck is about to get killed, so like often a piano is going to land on him or something, and he just sort of goes, "Mother."
Mother! Like that. And then, yeah.
It's more resignation than that. It's just, "Mother."
Yeah. That's a shame about the Acme. They were going to make a film about the Roadrunner versus Acme. And it was supposed to be really good. And then Warner Brothers decided that it was no longer profitable. It was more profitable to not release it than it was to release it, even though it got really good.
Well, Warner Brothers, that's how comedians feel about the Edinburgh Fringe, but we're still there every year. So, you know,
That's a
that's
good
our
point.
dedication to the arts.
But they've done it to a lot of stuff recently. It's becoming more profitable to pay people to make something to the best of their ability and then not release it for some reason.
What?
Yeah,
It's happened to Batgirl, which was filmed in Glasgow. It filmed around the corner for me, and I was really excited to see it. And then they just realised there was tax reasons where if you don't put something out, you make more money back. Do you understand this?
I do not understand this world.
no one understands the actual accountancy behind that less than me. But yeah, it seems to be a thing that's happening, and they're deleting things.
Yeah.
So there's like shows with quite big actors in it and stuff that are just getting deleted by streaming platforms as a tax dodge.
I'm starting to keep a physical media library as a form of revolution against the streaming services, except Global Play, which I think is brilliant.
Okay.
Do you mean like jazz mags?
Jazz mags?
Have you
What's
ever
a
heard that
jazz
expression?
mag? I don't think
A
so.
pornographic magazine.
Wow. I thought it was about like Trumpeter Monthly or something.
Is Christopher too young to remember jazz mags, as
actually-
magazines?
I've never masturbated to a magazine that was
What?
created for that purpose.
Look at the wonderment in Frankie's face here.
I've masturbated to a wrestling magazine once, but
Oh, Jesus.
Tori Wilson, 2004, SmackDown magazine. But no, there's never been porn accessible
All kinds
via.
of catalogues got pressed into service as
Littlewoods?
back in the day. Can't remember Littlewoods one specifically, but certainly there were lingerie catalogues.
Next,
Better wear for some people.
Matalan.
Better
What's
wear.
better wear? Is that like Littlewoods, but what's
No,
that?
Better Wear was like a really, there's a little brochure that used to come round and people would be employed by Better Wear to give out the brochures. Then they would go down to get the brochures back, and if you ordered something in it, they would then bring it, so it would be like Tupperware and stuff like that.
It's a difficult wank, isn't it?
It's a bit like QVC as a magazine.
Wow.
Analog QVC.
An analog QVC. QVCs, as far back as I go.
I suppose if you're a beast, you're getting like Lego catalogues and all that. And
If you're a beast?
yeah, a
If you were a Pederast?
Not an orangutan, like a
Not a Bible
paedophile.
John in the jungle.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Why would a paedophile have a...
Because there would be children demonstrating the Lego.
Oh, right, yeah, okay, yeah, right. Good.
Or like Argos, the Argos catalogue would have kids in it playing with toys.
I find it difficult to access the mindset of a paedophile. Not accused anybody.
Anyone who says that.
Yeah.
I find that quite difficult, actually.
Aye,
Says that every episode.
yeah. Yeah, I'm really not a
Said it to him.
paedophile. Really? Again,
I'm not saying I'm
Christopher?
not. I'm saying I'm finding it difficult to access the mindset.
What could I have, and I'm not criticising here, but what example could I have used to make that joke clearer?
I'm sorry. I'm trying as hard as I can.
I suppose they'd use a children's catalogue. A famous child's toy.
An early learning centre booklet.
I used to like around Christmas time getting the Argos catalogue and going through it and circling all the things I wanted. It was a nice pastime.
For me, it was one of the things I wanted to get other people. It was the Woolworths catalogue. You'd save up all your money, get your dad a shaving set or something.
Pick and mix.
Brute.
A brute.
Art brute.
Oh, have I ever told you about our giant cracker?
Huh?
No.
How big?
One year in Woolworths, there was a cracker, and it was about, I'd say it was about 5'10", right? And it
Taller
was-
than me.
Taller than me.
I'm not even joking. There was this massive cracker, and it was like £5 or £6, something like that. It should be a lot of money at the time, and we were kids. And I picked it up, and I was like, this thing weighs a ton, right? And I was like to my brother, we should get this cracker. And he was like, no, that's loads of money, and it's going to be a load of crap. And I'm like, no, lift it. It's like that, right? And so we buy this cracker. We're super excited.
How old were you at this point?
I was maybe like 8.
Right, this is
This
when
is
you
about
need to work in your
1980.
Is your brother
observation
older
and
than you?
painting the picture. Right.
Is your brother older than you?
Yeah, so he would be about 11.
Right.
And we leave it at the side of the cabinet in the living room, and we're really excited by it. It's beside the Christmas tree. We look at it all the time. We're like, really, this is great. We can't wait to pull this cracker, right?
Yeah.
And this is the best anything's ever gone in my life, by the way. This is an absolute high point of judgment. And we go to midnight mass, and you're allowed to open one present when you come back from midnight mass.
Sure.
And you go to your bed and you get up and do the rest.
That was the bribery to get you to mass.
And we're like, let's do the cracker, right? And my mum's in the kitchen and my dad. And we do the cracker. And it goes off like a bomb. I think she screamed from the kitchen. It was like a proper, like a fucking hand grenade. And all this stuff came out of it. And it must have been the people in Woolies taking all the stuff that they're like, is discontinued, or is like, you know, so there's like a clock radio, and there's all kinds of like absolute booty in this thing that we're surrounded by in this explosion.
It's a trove.
It was amazing.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
It does sound great, although imagine how gutted your parents must have been that they've worked hard all year and they've maybe struggled and scrimped to get you all your Christmas, and you and your brother are like, sack that Santa shit. This is Christmas.
This random jamboree
Um,
of unwanted shit.
Of like
great.
the Toshiba radio they used in Lockerbie because they can't sell it anymore.
This
What?
was Lockerbie.
Oh, this
is
sounds
a,
amazing.
This was a pre-Lockerbie cracker.
I mean, it does sound amazing, to be fair. Do you remember
yeah.
people used to go to the bars at midnight and like fight over stuff?
At midnight.
Yeah, midnight and Christmas Eve, like people like the bars would be open till like 1 a.m. And the toy of the year would be there, people scrapping for Cabbage Patch dolls and stuff.
What
like
was the
that.
toy of the year when you were wee?
Oh, well, there was like Game Boy. The Game Boy in like, I don't know, would that have been
The
1988?
original grey brick.
Yeah. The Zelda. I remember the Zelda game. I remember
Link's
getting that
Awakening,
one year
yeah.
with the twin screen thing. Oh, yes. Yes. Cabbage Patch dolls, they were a big thing. The Game Boy was massive.
Yeah.
What else would there have been?
Mine's was the Buzz Lightyear. Remember that?
Jesus, I feel so old sometimes.
It's only like, what, 10 year in between us?
I know, but It feels that I would have been.
You would have been smoking hash by the time Buzz Lightyear came out.
I was smoking hash in 1992. I was 12.
Yeah.
That was very early very early into it and very early out of it.
By the time the toys started talking,
Aye.
it probably would have made the film better.
Wait till you're 50, man, and you're doing a podcast or whatever the equivalent is with some wee comedian guy who's just a cloud of data.
No, we were people. We had skin back then. You wouldn't remember this. I had a body made of flesh, if you can imagine.
See, this is not a simulation.
Quite boring to you now. Obviously, we know it's a simulation. But we all pretended we were people back then. You know, we were all people.
So good.
We weren't Galactus-esque clouds. If you've seen the second Fantastic Four film.
I haven't.
No, he's a cloud in that.
I've not even seen Lord of the Rings, man.
I know.
Not seen Lord of the Rings?
No.
Have you read it?
Years and years ago. I was probably stoned.
Yeah.
I read it going,
I was smoking hash by the time Frodo got to Mordor.
So was Frodo, to be fair. They were all mad for
They
hash.
were all pipeweed heads. Yeah. We know this to be true.
Gollum is just what happens when you can't get any hash.
old school hash as well, like resin.
Proper.
None of this
stuff with
parsley
plastic.
shit.
See, when I put a ring on, I turn invisible. Do you know that? Alright, I'm sure.
What else would you have had for your Christmas? I would have been like a bike and stuff.
A big a key moment every Christmas was to get a selection box and pretend to your siblings that you had finished yours, but you hadn't. And then you would take it out when they'd finished theirs and go,
You make more than me.
A big moment in our house in a traditional West Coast of Scotland miserable family way would be my dad going like that on Christmas Eve. I've had enough of you. Up is there. Christmas is cancelled. Every year. Every year.
Christmas
Even now, like me and my brother, like round about from about the 19th, 20th of December, we'll just randomly send each other, Christmas is cancelled. Because that was just how that's it. Christmas is cancelled. That's it. That's it. It was just... Oh.
as a dad now, I have more sympathy with that.
Yeah, get it.
Like people, like kids get so hyped. It's just, they're bouncing off the walls.
Yeah.
I wasn't even bouncing off the walls. I'd be sitting watching Zulu. He would just be annoyed because he was in the house and working in Glasgow going, that's it. Christmas is cancelled.
So this is an attempt to kind of calm them down by ruining
Christmas?
Aye. That's what it was.
Did you...
Zulu was
Psychological.
more racist than Tom and Jerry, by the way, but that still got punted out on a Saturday morning.
Oh, terrible. Like, terrible racism.
Who's in Zulu? Sean Connery?
Michael Caine.
Michael Caine, sorry.
See what else I remembered Michael Caine's in the other day? Blame It on Rio.
What's that?
What's that?
It's a really suspect film. It was a mainstream film at the time. Michael Caine, then deep into middle age, and his friend go on holiday with their 17-year-old daughters, one of whom is Demi Moore, and Michael Caine shags the other guy's daughter. That's the plot of the movie. It's a kind of sex comedy.
Terrible.
It's a sex comedy.
Well,
It sounds
now
like
it's like evidence for the prosecution.
Yeah,
but
now it would be like directed by fucking A24 produced thing, you know?
I think I prefer him in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
After Sun. They should have called this one Dirty Rotten Scoundrels if he's shagging his
Yeah, that should have
daughter's
been the one.
friend.
I think they advertised it in a Lego catalogue.
There was posters at the Early Learning Centre.
I find it difficult to access the mindset of someone who would shag his friend's daughter, personally.
Very odd.
Back
my new
in the day,
catchphrase.
man, you were getting popcorn. You were getting an ice cream.
A hot dog. Let's go see.
You seen that movie where Michael Caine fucks a kid?
And has this been kind of like deleted for history or something?
It's not deleted from IMDb, but they just kind of go, well,
Kane doesn't bring it up.
let's not foreground. He doesn't start many actors' studios with going,
What do you want to do?
You ever go to fuck a kid?
Hold yourself, look into the camera, but past it, you know.
look down, because they're not shorter than you.
The Road to Rio. Is that what it's called?
Blame It on Rio.
Blame It on Rio. What? So is that the
Oh yeah,
the
actually,
storyline?
also blame it on the kid.
Is it
Yeah.
like, listen,
Oh no, Rio, I guess, is the place. Maybe they go to Rio de Janeiro. Can't
and he's
remember.
like, I tell you what, having sex with children's all right here.
The last line of the film is something pretty mental like that. I can't remember what it was. I'll look it up.
I'm looking it up just now.
This
On the
film
Wikipedia,
sounds
it'll tell you
terrible.
at the end of the plot, it says what the last line is.
Jennifer attempts to commit suicide with an overdose of birth control pills, but survives, and the incident brings all of the friends closer together.
As it would.
But the men constantly object about each other's sexual misconduct. Karen and Matthew choose to work on their marital problems. Jennifer begins dating a young male nurse she met while recuperating in the hospital, and Matthew thanks daughter Nikki for being the only one who has not misbehaved. As the closing credits start, Matthew in voiceover narration says, "You only live once, but it does help if you get to be young twice."
This is terrible. This is also an overdose of contraception. Is that
There's
not
always there was a lot of birth control stuff in 80s films. What was that one? The dancing film where she tries to get
Dirty Dancing?
Dirty Dancing, the abortion subplot in that.
Yeah.
But I'd say in this, just as a plot device, it's used to go, yeah, Michael can shagged her for the whole movie, but don't worry, she's not
Because the
pregnant.
baby's not going to be alive.
Yeah.
Won't ever
Wow.
be alive, sorry, to speak in the parlance of...
I have never heard of this film, and honestly, I'm not going to watch it.
Maybe we're the start of its comeback, and then it's like A Wonderful Life or something.
Okay, so there's 2 production notes. 1, the film was shot on location in Rio de Janeiro, which is fantastic. 2, Johnson, who was 17 at the time of filming, received permission from a court to appear topless and bottomless in some scenes of the film.
Once you've got to get court permission.
So there's questions got to be asked. If you need to go to the court to say, listen, can I take my bra off?
Yeah. And they go, yes, top and bottom can be removed.
Nah, it's weird.
I find it difficult to access the mindset of the producers who blame it on the Rio, personally.
I don't think it's that much of a leap, to be honest. I think they're just old creeps. Who's the other guy in it?
Vincent Canby, reviewing Blame It on Rio, wrote, "There's not a single funny or surprising moment in the movie.
That sounds pretty surprising to me.
However, Blame It on Rio is not simply humorless. It also spreads gloom. It's one of those unfortunate projects that somehow suggests that everyone connected with the movie hated it and all of the other people involved."
Yeah, because they were filming. They were filming a movie in Rio de Janeiro, and they had to go to their work every day. They were in Rio. Think about all the stuff you could do in Rio, and they're like, "Oh fuck, I need to go and film this."
I dread to think
Horrific
stuff the people
pedo
behind this
comedy.
movie did it.
Yeah, well, you know, I think taking an overdose of birth control tablets—that's odd.
How many babies do you want to kill in there, man? One's enough.
Top Cat, the most incredible Top Cat. His close friends get to call him TC, providing it's with dignity. Do you know what I had stuck in my head yesterday? Do you know Perry Como's Magic Moments?
Yes.
Do, 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 do. So people at school would sing, "It wasn't my thumb that tickled your bum, it was my finger." But yesterday I had stuck in my head for no reason. She wanted to fuck and he was a cuck and he was into it.
Doesn't quite scan.
Doesn't quite scan.
I don't know if that'll be the one that they use for chocolates on an advert.
There should be cuck chocolates, man. That's
Wow.
That's a
It's called Karamek.
neglected market. Karamek chocolate for cucks.
I'd like to see a kind of Top Cat rip-off called Copycat, who's just doing loads of horrific crimes that he's inspired by.
I'm sure there is a film called Copycat.
The most incredible copycat. And he just lives in a bin and abducts people.
Officer Dibble just wanted to be going, I've got no idea.
Officer Dibble's just like, there's been so many killings recently, and all the crime scenes have
Shattered.
cat paws in the blood. Officer Dibble's at the end of his rope, man. He's going to consider suicide.
Or Cop Cat, where he just grasses all the other cats in and they all get like neutered. I've been neutered, TC.
TC, my cock and balls don't work no more. Do you know anything about this? Oh. So Sergeant Bilko was a military man who was a bit daft.
No, he was like a wheeler dealer. He was like a crafty guy. He
was the Del Boy of the US military.
Yeah.
And Top Cat took his vibe and put it into the world of the back street
Alley cat.
If you worked for Hanna-Barbera back in the day, you just watched a movie and you went, put that vibe in a badger.
I'd like to see Rosemary's Baby in the kind of style of Hanna-Barbera as a badger, maybe a honey badger, and then the Dachshund.
Well, on theme, Rosemary's Baby is really about abortion.
Mm-hmm.
It's his take on how women's bodies were controlled.
Roman Polanski?
I had 11. The guy who wrote the book.
Aye, let's not talk about Roman Polanski, man. That's not getting past the
Here comes the guillotine.
He would actually be a good real-life Top Cat.
You think so?
Roman Polanski.
He's
He
too
has a look
small.
at Top Cat, you know?
He's too small.
His ears came through his hat. Is that the most notable thing about him?
Is it because you can see him wearing one of those hats?
I can see him wearing one of those hats, a little waistcoat,
Living in a
having
bin.
a coin on a string.
Fleeing to continental Europe when it all goes down.
Anytime you have to flee to continental Europe,
You've committed a sex crime.
it's not great, is it?
Maybe my attitudes will be more accepted in continental
He
Europe. They
glosses
will be.
over that, I'm sure, every time. Anytime he's telling people about his life.
Is he still alive, Polanski?
Yeah.
What did his voice sound like?
French.
French.
Wow. That's what I think it will sound like.
Sounded like a lightsaber being moved.
Sounds like the Dungeon Master from Dungeons and Dragons.
If you send me to continental Europe, I'll be more powerful than you could ever imagine. It's at the end of the first episode. I think that was a good one.
I think it was a good one.
Should
Nice.
we eat a delicious lunch?
Where are you choosing?
I'm going to treat you to a Nippon kitchen, I believe.
Oh, Nippon.
Nice.
Not guaranteed. That's it this week for Here Comes the Guillotine. We'll be back next week with more anti-authoritarianism and chummy laughter.
You can get all the episodes of Here Comes the Guillotine on Global Player right now. Search for Global Player on your App Store or go to globalplayer.com.